all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Y'all, I gotta give a shout out to all the listeners and the people that have been reaching out to me, because you keep telling me you want to see more shows, you want to see more interviews, you want to know more about the candidates, you want to know more candidates. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That means that we are doing our job and making sure that the voters are informed about potential candidates up and down the state. And I will do the very best that I can with all the time that I have available to me. You know, there's only 24 hours in a day. I gotta sleep sometime. But in the meantime, I'll make sure that I bring you as many candidates as I can. And I'm not even gonna waste any time today, because I've got to split the show up in half, and I've got two. Yes, sir. I've got two amazing candidates that I want you guys to meet tonight. People who have been working hard. So first up, my man, Luke Bohm, who is running for state senate in District 5. Now, I want to read something to you, because you know what? Luke has me fired up. He's been kind of echoing my sentiments. And he says why he's running for office: I believe we can do better as a state. We rank near the bottom of every major category in the nation, and I'm running to fix that. See, there's people that can complain, but when you say I'm going to put my name on the dotted line and I want to get involved to help fix it, that's who I want to talk to. Y'all give a warm turn left welcome to my man, Luke Bohm. Yo, what's going down, Luke? How are you today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, Dana? Thank you for having me on the show.
I'm good. How's the family holding up during the lockdown?
My girlfriend and I, we just bought a house together. We've been doing a lot of renovations, so we're doing good. But, there's that tiff every now and again, but we're not sure if that's from lockdown or just from fixing up a house.
Yeah. Renovations is always a headache. That's why I don't do it.
Oh, yeah. No. We find one thing and another breaks.
Oh, yeah. So tell the people who you are and where you come from.
So I was born down in Madison, Indiana, on the Ohio River. And then grew up in St. John up in Lake County, and then moved around the East Coast through college and working for a couple of different nonprofits and a ton of various campaigns. And a couple of years ago, my girlfriend Danielle and I decided that the East Coast life wasn't for us anymore. She grew up in Hobart, here in Northwest Indiana as well.
Okay.
And we just decided it's time to come back home and me being the masochist that I am, I'm like, let's get involved in politics in Indiana.
Absolutely, because we definitely need that. We need people who are energetic, young, exciting, because Indiana is a great place to live. We just need people to stop treating it like a trash can.
Absolutely. And here's the thing that I'll start out right at a 10. We have got 18% of our children in the state living in poverty. We are 47th in the nation in healthcare spending per citizen. It's only $53 per citizen we're spending on healthcare. Look, I could fill up my half an hour just explaining what we could be doing better and how we can be fixing it for our citizens. We had $267 million left over after last year's budget. Now, I understand that the COVID issue is going to take up a big chunk of that, because the state is having to foot the bill for a lot of things. But when you have 18% of your children living in poverty and you have a surplus of even $1, let alone millions, that's unacceptable to me. Absolutely. We rank 50th in teacher spending. We rank 41st in infrastructure development. There's so many things. And what I've learned over the past year, going around the 5th Senate District, is the people that around us are fed up. Look, I live in Valparaiso. Valparaiso is doing very well. We've got beautiful places like Bloomington, Columbus, Madison, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, a lot of places that are coming back. South Bend, for example. But the rest of the state has become the victims of budgeting. And we cannot stand for that anymore. I'm not running a negative campaign here. I'm not running because, I hate my opponent because he's a Republican. I'm not doing that. I'm not running a partisan race. I'm running a race because, gosh darn it, the people in Indiana deserve better.
Absolutely, they deserve better. Especially when you talked about those healthcare numbers. You talk about how we spend less money, and a lot of the counties in your area, in your general area, don't even have healthcare facilities, let alone how much money we're spending on them. I just don't understand why we are not interested as a state in making sure that these counties have what they need. In some of these counties, they are losing population. And when you lose population, guess what else you lose? You lose a revenue base. And if
Absolutely.
the state isn't willing to step in and help a lot of our rural counties, how are they expected to be thriving communities? Can you talk about some of those things that you're seeing down in your district?
Well, I'll tell you, Dana, this is the most amazing thing. And it's exciting for me as a candidate, but it's heartbreaking for me as a Hoosier. Going and talking with the people in emergency services, the people at hospitals, at schools, and hearing these issues. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and go, "Hey, we need help with this, we need help with that," which, like I said, as a candidate, I feel great about. But we can't be letting this continue.
Mm-hmm.
Like down in Stark County, I've only got a few townships in Stark in the district. But speaking with their emergency services, this is the two that are absolutely shocking. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but the police down there cannot afford tasers. It's not in the budget. So if they have to use any form of force, it's lethal.
And
There's
we've
no chance for a peaceful resolution. That is the only thing that they're coming with. And then the second one is, look, northern Indiana is fairly flat, but we do have a lot of backwoods. They can't even afford snow tires or chains in their budgets for the ambulances, the fire trucks, the EMS, or the police.
That's
So,
unacceptable. I mean, if we're not even
look,
taking care of public safety, I mean, now
no,
listen, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. I wish police officers would use tasers more often.
yeah,
If you got, I mean, especially as a melanated individual, I have noticed, and we, a lot of us already know that it's usually a shoot first, ask questions later type of situation for some of us. But you're saying that even in places where the minority population is very minimal, there are not other alternatives to super aggressive force.
as not for these police departments that are running on such shoestring budgets. And look, we can dip into the issues that we have with substance abuse as well.
Absolutely.
Look, a law enforcement officer responding to any sort of drug issue, and that person becomes combative, look, that person might not be in the right state of mind. If they go after a police officer with any sort of weapon, yeah, tasing is not the worst option. Then you're looking at what they're given.
Mm-hmm.
The police are getting put into dangerous situations day in and day out. And when the only result is lethal, that's unacceptable. We've got to, and look, I'm not going to sit here and say that we need to fund everything.
Right.
That's very hard to do as a state.
Right.
We
Right.
can't giving money out left and right. But for crying out loud, we can't afford for our ambulances to go up a snowy track or for our police officers to properly protect themselves. And that's before we even get into schools and healthcare.
Well, yeah, and I want to touch on the ambulance care right there just for a second. If we lose one life, because a ambulance doesn't have snow tires, that is one life too many. And that should be
Absolutely.
unacceptable to every elected official in our state. That should be completely unacceptable.
Absolutely. And look, once again, I said I would understand it more if we were working in a wealth of debt, like Illinois, other states, state that I knew well, New Jersey, they've got issues with their pension, with their debt. But when you have 267 million in a surplus, when you've got money for hog barns and all sorts of other pet projects, no pun intended, then there's it's unacceptable. Like, come on.
The pig farm. First of all, that was insulting. I mean, that
Yes.
you mentioned teacher pay and that we're 50th in the nation. The idea that we would divert any extra funds anywhere other than to public education and our public teachers is incredibly insulting. And I can't believe that so many people are like, oh. This our governor is doing such an amazing job. This is I don't I don't know what else says I don't give a damn about you, your kids, or the future of our state other than I need a pig barn.
Absolutely. I mean, I really don't know what analogy to use. And if you know anything about me, I love a good analogy. So for the fact that I'm at a loss for words is really saying something about where we're at. And
Absolutely.
the other element of that as well is you look at towns like in my district, I've got a town called Madeiryville.
Mm-hmm.
Madeiryville is, we can't get an accurate number, but we're guessing around 200 people. There's very little business. There's no jobs within town right now. And the substance abuse issues are just through the roof. You know, it's depressing to drive through the town, but then you talk to some of the people there and it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, we can't get a call back from even the county commissioners. They can't get a call back from a state level official about actual issues.
Mm.
You know, I opened my first campaign office down in Pulaski County in Monterey,
Mm-hmm.
a town that, look, I love the little town. It's a great little place. It's like 300 people right on the tip of the River. But they have a burned down bar in the center of their town. They've been trying to get a call back from their current state senator, my opponent, whose name I don't want to mention,
Nope.
and other elected officials, and they can't get as much as a call back. It's been over 5 years. They're having to cordon off part of the street because it's falling into the street. There's debris and trash blowing all over. But they can't touch it because it's been deemed, I want to say, a safety hazard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's just amazing to me. There is so much more that we can be doing.
Absolutely.
And
And the idea that it's been 5 years, that means they actually reelected that person 4 years ago. So, we gotta start communicating with these constituents to let you and I were just kind of chopping it up a little bit before we came on air about how much work it takes as a candidate to get the message out, right, to constituents. I was talking to Thomasina Marcelli earlier today, and she's running for Congress in the fourth district or the eighth district, and we were talking about understanding what constituents need and the desires. It's really it is that simple. It's all about connecting with, talking to, and understanding what those needs are, and then conveying, right, how we can help. You mentioned earlier that you have some ideas on how to try to fix some of this stuff, right? Talk about some of the solutions you have for any issue. I'm gonna leave it up to you. Some of your best ideas, just go.
you know, one thing right off the bat that I would love to see, and look, I understand this is a pipe dream of a long shot of a legislative bill that'll never get passed.
You never know.
But but there are so many parameters for someone to run for a state level office. And what I would love to see is, look, you've got to be a certain age, you have to live in the district for a long enough for all this. I would like to see it where the elected official has to hold one public event every quarter for them to be eligible for reelection.
Oh.
That way, these elected officials, and I'm saying both sides of the aisle, this applies to everyone. They can't just get elected and hide for 3.5 years until they want to get reelected.
That's exactly what they do. And a lot of people do that. I mean, I still haven't seen Susan Brooks, and I lived in her district for 6 years.
And the other part of that too is I follow all the Facebook chatter groups in the district.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's got some sort of gossip or some sort of issue, they put it on. Well, last week down in Hebron here in Porter County, a small business owner put on there that they've been getting flooded out. Back of their business gets flooded out every time there's heavy rains. Well, I reached out to them and said, hey, I'm not an elected official, but I am a candidate, and can I come down and see what's happening? Of course, we stayed a safe distance apart from each other. We all wore PPE. But I was able to look at it. And through that, I'll give a shout out gladly to Councilman John Spinks from Hebron. I called him that morning. I said, hey, John, I'm going down to 104 Main Street to take a look at this. Can you join me? He joined me, and he brought public works people as well. So now there was, we all had a kumbaya circle around the hole in the issue. But it's that type and we've got a plan in place on how to fix the issue and how to try and save these small businesses. It's that type of leadership and it's that type of responsiveness that we need more of. Because look, unless you're involved and you're in those communities, you're not going to know what's going on. And
Absolutely.
you've got to have an ear to the ground.
And you know what? That to me is, you say that, and it just makes me think about what my role, what I think my role is as deputy chair for engagement. I don't always have the answers, and you may not have had that answer, but you were like, "Look, I'm gonna get some more people on the horn, and we're gonna go down here collectively." It's all about that interconnectivity of I
Mm-hmm.
know somebody and they know somebody, and together we're gonna solve this problem. I don't, that I pride myself. I don't always get, like you probably don't get every email as timely as you want to get them answered, but you try to answer every email, every message, and just listen to everyone's concern, even if you can't help them. Even when I got sick, I was upset because I couldn't get to people right away. But to me, that is the ultimate sign of a leader. You don't have to have all the answers. It's just you have to be willing to seek the answer. And that is the difference between what people are needing right now and what we already have.
Absolutely. And I will be the very first one to tell people I'm not going to have all of the answers. I'm not going to be the one to come in and say, oh, vote for me, you're going to have every issue solved. But a vote for me means that if you reach out to me, I will try and figure it out. I will call someone that knows someone that might be closer to the answer. And that's really the thing that bugs me is that we're representatives of the citizen.
Mm-hmm,
We're
mm-hmm.
not representatives of we shouldn't be the representatives of the special interests that donate to us.
We
We should
shouldn't.
not be the representatives of the people that think that they have an in with us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, look, it's the other way around. If someone calls me and says, "Hey, look, we're having this problem down here. Can you help out?" Well, then I'm going to be invested in that. But that's just because of me, and I like to help people.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a skill set, right? But if you can bring together people, and I think that's a key element too in a leadership style, because the bottom line is when you're an elected official, you're not just the representing the people who liked you and voted for you. You're also representative of those who did not vote for you. And unfortunately, in our state house right now, we can see over and over again how bills are not even introduced into committees because of the supermajority. How can you just simply ignore 48% of the state? How do you
Well,
plan on
that's
working across the aisle on that, my man?
the first thing that I would do if elected on the first day would be talk to the veterans in my own caucus and then talk to the staffers that are on the ground, the ones that are there every day, and see who else feels a certain way. Look, I would love to see campaign finance reform in the state. I'd love to see it nationally, but particularly here in Indiana. I might find two or three Republicans on the other side of the aisle that feel that way as well, that are willing to co sponsor bills. It's about finding a greater good. You know, you hear 7 degrees of separation as well. Well, I believe 7 degrees of interconnection.
Okay.
That I might care about something that someone else is their talking point. And in that, I can try and help them. But in that same way, we've got to be trying to move the state forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the slogan for my campaign is a better way forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to do. We cannot continue to sit idly by and let these elected officials, and this is from top down, this is from the governor's mansion all the way down to township trustees. We've got to start holding people responsible and accountable for the downfalls in our society. Now, here in Center Township in Valparaiso, we've got Jesse Harper, a great Center Township trustee. We don't have that in other parts of the district. We don't have that in other parts of the state. So it's, look, everyone hears about trickle down economics. We need bottom up representation as well.
Well, we know trickle down doesn't work. Now, look, you have it don't work. It ain't never work. Not
No,
it
it
don't put it
never
like this.
worked.
It
It
don't
never worked.
it don't work for regular everyday working people. It worked for big corporations. They get their tax cuts and then do stock buybacks. But it ain't never really been for the everyday person.
No, Reaganomics were horrible.
Oh, man, look. So you're not new to this. You're true
No.
to this. You've ran a few campaigns in your day. Talk about your experience.
So this is going back a while. My first campaign I ever worked on, I was 12.
Ooh.
No. I was 14. I was working on the Tim Armstrong for mayor race down in Madison.
Okay.
And then I worked on some races out in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, all up and down the East Coast. And out there, look, it's not my cup of tea. I'm a Midwestern boy. I'm a Hoosier through and through. But I was able to learn from some of the best strategists that the Democrat Party has to offer. We won quite a few races. I get yelled at whenever I bring up that number on the campaigns I've worked on. But it's that winning mentality that we've got to get to here in Indiana. And look, I hate that the person currently in the presidency said, "Oh, winning" as a blanket statement. But we've got to start getting a better mentality overall with politics. I get asked all the time, "Oh, are you afraid of being called a liar?" Like, I'm afraid of politicians being viewed as only liars.
Exactly. Exactly. I love it when I call myself a politician, even though I'm a politician that's never won. but see, we have the opportunity to change the narrative of what that word means. We can be because our parents raised us to be honest. At least mine did. And I know most of our parents raised us to be honest and be true to our word. This nonsense that politicians are all liars is just it's not a true statement. There are some really genuine people out there, and unfortunately, it's the ones who know how to manipulate and be the Pied Piper and be the snake oil salesman. They're the ones that get all the attention because they're shinier. The ones that put their heads down and just get to work and are honest about the work they do, they don't get the hype. But we've got to change that narrative, right? That's one of the things we were talking about.
Absolutely. The next guest that you have up, Ben Bloom. I know Ben very well. He is dedicated is not a strong enough word for how he is with the communities here. And Ben would be, look, I think I would be great for our district and great for our state because of how I am responsibility wise and all that. Ben would be a game changer.
Wow.
The passion and the integrity that he brings to the race and to everyday life is incredible. And that's what we need more of. We need more people that are inspired by everyday things. Not people that look at, their seat and think, how much money can I make from that?
Mm-hmm. And we also need more people like you who acknowledge greatness around them. You don't have to be this, you don't always have to put the light on yourself. You can put the light on somebody else because that's what you just did. You just took, however many seconds out of your interview to hype up somebody else. And I think that's the other element of a good leader that we are desperately seeking. Someone who says, I'm not that great. I'm not that great. Here's somebody else. And I appreciate you doing that because that speaks volumes,
I appreciate you saying that. I'll tell you this, Dana, if on November 3rd, this doesn't turn my way, but it turns Ben's way, I'm gonna have a hard time looking like someone who lost.
Yeah.
That he is what we need in the state. I try to bring the same passion as he does, but I don't think any of us.
Okay, that's what's up. So you win the race in November, and January. You have to start putting your bills together because you get so many bills each year. Tell us the one bill that you want to get written and hopefully get called to a committee.
The first one that I would write, and a little bit of my background is I've written policy before, and I want to say 18 bills in my folder in my computer that I've written just because I was bored one night. That's who I am as a person. I'll just write a bill because I felt like it.
Okay.
The first one that I would do would be to level the playing field for teacher pay in the state. Look, a teacher in Hebron or Counts is never going to make as much as a teacher in Munster or Carmel. And I'm not trying to attack these schools in the more prominent areas. I want to raise up the standard of education in the more rural areas because that's how we start bringing back our rural part of the state is by having teachers that are passionate and invested in the communities and the lives of their students.
Absolutely, because we want them to stay. I mean, the fact that Indiana has a brain drain means that we're also losing good instructors, good counselors, good teachers, and people who just damn well care. And the fact that, we have one parochial school who let go of an amazing counselor just because of who she loved, I'm still like, when our state is begging for people to stay in education in Indiana, and they're leaving. These clowns decided they were going to let somebody go because they love differently. Shelley Fitzgerald knows I'm crazy about her, so everybody know I'm dropping that dime. So I love the fact that your first bill will be about teachers, because what that tells me, right? What that tells me is that your first concern is the future, because you're trying to
Absolutely.
move Indiana forward. And how do you do that? By making sure that you're educating the future, which is our children. Oh, man.
Absolutely. And the second thing, that it would come on the heels of the teacher pay or teacher development, would be workforce development.
Okay.
We've got great opportunity here in Indiana, and I'll expand on this more if you have me back on the show sometime. But there are a lot of clean energy jobs out there that, if we bring them to the state of Indiana, could be game changers for us. And look, we've got a great deal of steel mills here in northern Indiana. I am a strong union supporter. My family is all union. I don't want to get into that. But if we can start transforming some of those jobs in the future over to clean energy, then I think that's the way that we need to go. Because we cannot continue on this path of losing jobs. We've got to keep those here, because brain drain is a fine thing to say, but when you can't afford to feed your family because your job pays $11 an hour at best, then there's our answer right there.
Absolutely. And then it seems like the people that are elected in our state house and that supermajority right now want to keep wages stagnant, want to bust up as many unions as they possibly can, and not educate our future. And it sounds to me like you are a bright spot to help us fix all of those things. So if people like your message, right, and they want to support your campaign, will you please tell them where they can find you?
Absolutely. So you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Bohm for Indiana. It's right over my shoulder here. And then our Act Blue is also with the same handle. If everybody could chip in $5, that would, or more if they feel like it, but that would be fantastic, because, we're not taking money from special interests right now. We're not taking money from corporations or anything like that. Staying true to who we are.
Absolutely.
So, any grassroots $5 makes a big difference.
And are you doing any phone banking?
I'm doing a ton of phone banking each day. I've got my lists, and in 2018 I walked almost 13,000 doors for a variety of candidates all over the nation. Well, I'm used to walking a lot of doors, which is killing my diet now that I'm just sitting around on the phone.
Me too.
But I'm not able to walk, which is bugging me. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make some calls now.
Yeah. Well, we need that. And so if people want to help you phone bank, they can reach you on Facebook or at your website.
Absolutely. The website we're still working on.
Okay.
Still trying to figure out a couple of kinks with that. The other way to reach me would be through our email, which is also bohmforindiana at gmail.com.
Okay.
Or through any of our social media outlets. You message us, one of the 3 people on my staff or myself will respond right away.
That's what's up. I think, you know what, I think you're right what Indiana needs, especially, coming from the North region. We need more representation and louder voices. And I know that Senator Greg Taylor would love to have you in the Senate with him, fighting with him, because he's a policy guy. I had a chance to talk to him yesterday. Man, he is a firecracker. I'm about to bring him back because the internet was acting up on us yesterday. But he could definitely use some of your help. So I wish you all, you don't have a primary opponent, right?
I do not know.
So I can say vote for Luke.
Absolutely. My campaign manager, James Schooley, and I have been doing this since the Thursday after last year's municipal elections.
Okay.
So, we're in May. And a lot of people are like, oh, there's a lot of campaign left. We're halfway done.
Yeah.
We're halfway there.
Well, I can say it because you don't have a primary opponent, and I can tell everybody, please, 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 find a way to support Luke. Find a way to help his campaign. Find a way to get him in the Senate, because we've got to break that supermajority, and might as well do it with people who care about you and your needs.
Absolutely.
Yo, Luke, thank you so much for joining me. I kind of want to sit back and have another conversation with you, because you have some strategies and some ideas on how we can help flip a whole lot of seats in Indiana. I hope you'll take some time and sit down with Indiana's Own and help me be a better advocate for Democrats across the state when you win your election.
Hey, I'll talk to you whenever, as long as I don't have to go help people in the district.
I got you. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a fantastic evening. Good luck to you. And we are here supporting you as much as we can. Y'all give it up for my man, Luke Bohm. He is running in State Senate District 5. He is the man. I'll holler at you next time, my man. Be safe.
Thank you, Dan, and take care.
All right. Bye-bye.